So yesterday we are working on the arithmetic operations. We have worked on the addition, subtraction, multiplication. There are three types of divisions, right? One is a general division, so floor division, and the remainder operation. Remainder is also called as modulo division. And there is a power operation. Similarly, there is a power built-in function and div mod function also. So, and also we learned about operator precedence briefly. We will go again practically. So we will solve some practical problems and work on the remaining things today. So for working, we have created a Jupyter notebooks. We have worked on Jupyter notebooks for the same in different ways. Okay. So how to work on it? So I showed you something called as compound operations. Compound operations means anything if you are doing the operation, it's like addition, subtraction, multiplication, any arithmetic operation. If in the left hand side and right hand side, if there is the same variable, then you can use the compound operator. Compound operation means instead of a number is equal to number plus 10, so we can do a plus equal to. Similarly, like that, we can have a minus equal to. Say if I say number minus equal to, say same 10, and suppose that if I ask, hey, what is a number? It will tell like the number will be what? 130 minus, so yeah, this is one interesting tell I will tell you. If I execute, I should get the answer, right? But it will throw an error. Because yesterday the code was executed and we closed the session, everything was done. Now, instead of executing from the starting, we are executing from middle. So you don't know what is the number. Means any day when you're processing, you need to process all the files from all the values from the starting. Jupyter notebooks will store previous history of what happened at that time. If you want to update, you can individually execute all the cells, or there will be one thing like clear all output and run all. See, clear all outputs means in Jupyter notebook, you see all the statements were there, just the outputs were removed, right? And you can say run all. Run all means from the starting it will execute all. But with run all, one problem is there is that suddenly in middle any of these things was exception is coming or code was broken. It will not execute the remaining cells. Of course, that is needed, right? So that's what you need to understand. Now, in this case, what you can notice is that plus equal to minus equal to, that also showed you. Similarly, there will be like multiplication equal to. So these are all like compound operations. What are the arithmetic operations we learned? Based upon that, we can use. So this is multiply equal to. Similarly, I can do a division equal to. Say, why every time 10? So I'll give some 5. So it will give the answer 240. And similarly, I can go with a percentile equal to, say, or like floor division equal to. So floor division means getting the divisor. So if it is a perfectly divisible, it makes no difference between an ordinary division and this. But if it's not perfectly divisible, then get the divisor, right? That's what you can understand. And in the same fashion, you can go for a remainder operation or a modulo division operation. Percentile equal to, say, 48 is there. I do a percentile on 12. You can notice that it becomes 0, means perfectly divisible, right? So 12 fours are 48. So that's where remainder will be 0. So like that, we can do all operations. Say now I have a number. So I can do not only this, I can do a power operations equal to, say, 10. So let me do power. Oh, sorry, two operators were there. Power operation. If I do power operation, 0 to the power of 0 means what? 0 to the power of 10 is 0 again, right? Yeah. So maybe like I'll make number is equal to some 5. Then I will do like, so number percentile equal to, sorry, multiply equal to, say, 5. So 5 5s, it will give like, whatever value. So 5 to the power of 5 in and is equal to, like that. 5 is equal to 5 into 5 to the power of 7, like that. You got some value. So like that, we can do all kinds of compound operations. So that's one thing. After the compound operations, if you delve further, we can understand about the number formatting. This is very interesting. So till now, you might have learned about how to work with numbers and others, right? Just I will tell you what all these things. I created like, see, just now I created a Python, IPython, so or like just py file, right? So I want to create a IPython notebook. Then what I need to do? As I told earlier, again, I am repeating. Instead of .py, I need to replace it with .ipynb, IPython notebook. See, the moment I changed the file format, did you see the syntax changed? That's how Jupyter Notebooks works. So what is this? I still didn't get the answer for previous yesterday's question, like what is the largest number and what is the smallest number that can be computed in Python? The answer is simple. So there, the largest number that can be computed or smallest, it depends upon the machine. If your operating system is like, so Python, how it works is like, so in operating system, there are two types of memories. One is the RAM and other one is ROM. So these are like temporary and like persistent memory. ROM means like, so that's where your firmware and others are there. We cannot touch it. RAM is where like most important thing. Within the RAM, there will be something called as heaps, private heaps. So there are two memories again, heap and stack like that. So what actually happens is that Python don't have any specific limit because it will convert your whatever your data into another language like C language. In the backend, it will do like that only. So that's the reason. So in middle layer, whatever they wrote, they will handle. Whatever the big number you give also, they can handle. So that's the reason we don't deal about it. If your particular RAM is supporting a large, so it can handle a bigger number also. If your RAM is less, we can support lesser number. But in general, for general computation, scientific computations also fine. So going further, what is that I want to tell here? In terms of like numeric representation, say I took number is equal to 100 and I want to work on it. See, not only this, typical numbers if you have, you can represent like this, right? But when you have a large number, so you generally write like big number like this. So, and you ask, hey, what is the data type? It says integer and it will print the value. That is also fine. But observe carefully. So if you have a big number, generally you remember when you write on a pen and paper, when you have a large values to say, you write like this only, right? Comma separated, just for you to understand. Tens, hundred, thousands, so millions like that, right? But if you try to do like that in Python, it will say that it's a tuple. Tuple is another data type. You will learn shortly. But generally, why you do these things in real world? Because just to understand, for better understanding, for every three, you just give a comma, right? So to support that also, Python came with a solution. Between the numbers, you can have an underscore. Sir, within a variable, there is an underscore, I understood. Between numbers also, we can have an underscore, yes. But Python will just ignore them. So did you understand clearly what I'm trying to say? For your convenience, you can do that. But it is not mandatory. If you don't write also, it works. If you write an underscore also, between it works. But if you use any other things, then it makes a lot of difference. And if you write the same thing in quotes, then hope you know that it is no more an integer, it's a string. The moment you have quotes, whatever you have in middle, it is treated as a string. In the same fashion, when you have a smaller numbers also, we can do in the same way. So 3.1415 so and so underscore underscore so means anything. So any number, if you want to represent, we can do like this. So hope you know, like floating point values, when you have a large number, they will represent like this, right? So simply to understand, if I have any number like this, though I have written, so it doesn't matter for every three digits. Every digit also you write doesn't matter, but it will treat like this only. So don't you think it's interesting? Similarly, if I do like this, will it execute? It won't execute because there were two underscores. Did you see? So between every digit, at max you can have only one underscore. You cannot have more than one underscore. Hope it's clear. No more than one underscore. Okay, this is fine. So let me go with some real world problems for you to understand. Okay, we learned enough of basic arithmetic operations and others. So let me do a small thing called as ration store. I intentionally created a Python file. So now we are writing a script we want to write. Hope you remember in your villages you will have ration stores, right? In a ration store we will have some amount, some things will be sold. Generally assume that there are only two products. One is the wheat and the other one is the rice. Generally in ration stores you see the same thing. And there the amount is fixed and quantity is also fixed. So almost for the same, right? Just you pay the money and you come back and get it. So in a particular ration store, there was wheat as 25 per kg, 12 rupees per kg for rice. And the quantity is like 30 kgs here and 50 kgs here. Obviously, common sense is that 25 into 30, it will become the total cost here. And 12 into 50, that is its total cost, right? Selling price. And what is the total selling price? Combined value of together. Then government gave a subsidy of 20%. So means subsidy means we need to subtract, right? So the total bill amount is 1080. So this is how it need to calculate. So how we can do this programmatically? If you want to create your own program, so what we can do first of all means we need to understand how we can write. See, even I also started like you people. I too don't know programming in the starting. So whatever I want to do, I used to write on a pen and paper or else like I need sentences. What is there? What I need to do? What is the thing? Like step by step I used to write. Then it would be easy for me when writing. So if I go with the algorithm for it, if I say, so get the cost of items into variables. Initially I can do that, right? After getting the cost of the variables, I can go with what? So first let me get the cost of the variables. So cost of items means what? So cost of wheat, right? Cost of wheat is equal to what? 25 per kg. You can say like per kg. You can say, and like so like you can write like per kg. Per kg why wrote in quotes? Because so that is for our understanding. Similarly, cost of rice is equal to 12, right? Per kg. So these are like cost of items, right? First of all, so cost of items. That's what I wrote. After getting the cost, so now these costs I got. Next one is quantity, right? In the same fashion, we need to get the quantity into another variables. So just a simple. So programming is nothing but expressing in the given constraints. So when you're speaking in any language, so the same thing you speak, right? The meaning is same. You frame the sentences as per the language. Here also in the same fashion. If you know one programming, so you can write any others in the same lines. Now similarly, if you want to get the quantities of items, how can you do? Quantity of wheat. What is like 30? No, 30, right? 30 kgs. And the quantity of rice is equal to 50 kg, right? 50 kgs. Now I have costs and quantities. What is the next thing I can do? I can do this computation, right? So cost into this thing means first I need to get the selling prices. Each selling price is equal to cost into quantity. Each selling price if I multiply and then I need to add. So that's what I wrote. Calculate the selling price of each of them and add them. Simple. So what is the selling price? So whatever you wrote previously, the cost into quantity, right? It becomes selling price of wheat. Similarly, so cost into price will become selling price of rice. Now we have two costs. Now what is the total selling price? If I add these two, I'll get the total selling price, right? So if I add these two, now I get the total selling price. So after getting total selling price, let's try printing them first. Sometimes things get stuck. Yeah, I told, right? So we need to navigate to the directory where it is part of cd01 so and so. So I told you clear screen and Python, the particular program we want to execute. D ration show. Did you see? As all the numbers were constant, you get the same number, 1350. Because we gave the same number, we got 1350. Exactly right. Now, after this, what we need to do? We need to calculate the percentage of subsidy. Subsidy is 20% of this amount. So what is the 20% of this amount? 270. We need to calculate and then we need to subtract to get the final billing value. Now, see here, compute the subsidy amount and subtract from the selling price. So, and finally display the billing amount. So these were the next two steps we need to execute. Now you see what I did. I got the selling price, total selling price. Now, if you start working about the subsidy, subsidy means like any percentile, subsidy, discount, and all these things are percentiles. And we know it has a standard formula. So standard formula means what are the value that you want to do into percentage by 100. This is the standard formula. And observe carefully, I'm giving a parenthesis around it because of, again, the same PEMDAS, operator precedence. You remember? If I don't give this brace, what will happen? As per PEMDAS, multiplication coming first or division coming first. So P parenthesis, next exponential, next multiplication, right? Next division. Means if you don't place brace also, so it will give the same answer. First multiplication happens and division happens. But still, if you have confusion, you can just press the braces. So now if I execute, now I got the total selling price and I got the subsidy. What is that I can do? If I subtract this subsidy from the total selling price, I get the billing amount, right? So I can subtract and print it. Don't you think that we did a small program? It's a practical enough. We solved something, right? Hope you are comfortable here. If you have any doubts, please ask me. If not, we can jump on to the next thing.
It's clear.
Yes, please. Yeah, E. Yeah, thank you. So now we will go one step ahead. So earlier we have gone for a ration store. Now we will go for something like a fruit store. Fruit store, this is something interesting. Here, instead of cages, we buy things in dozens, right? So either piece by value or dozen value, whatever might happen. In this case, we have seen that piece price is there, but like we will buy in dozens. The complication. But like, so here also quantity and constant, everything is constant. So, and we have like a discount of 2%. And after that, there is a GST. Now you see, unlike the previous thing, subsidy, here different things happens. So discount means we subtract the value. GST means we need to add that percentage, right? So that's what we should be very careful. Similarly, here also, if you want to do how we start, the same policy. First, get the variables of the piece prices, right? First, we need to, when you're writing the algorithm, we need to write first the cost of the fruits into variable. What are the prices is there? So, and like we need to get the, say, cost I wrote. So cost of apple is equal to 12 per piece. Cost of mango is 34 per piece. Fine. And similarly, if you go for the quantity is what? The next thing we need to get the quantity, right? Quantity means 5 dozens they mention. So if I say like quantity is 5 dozens. But what is the value of a dozen? Dozen is a constant, right? No matter where you go. So like that, now you need to understand. Any program, not only Python, any language, wherever you go, it is a best practice that what are the constants means those are assumptions. So those must be at the starting of the any program. So dozen means 12, right? That's a constant. Similarly, like so we have different kinds of constants. Whenever we are encountering, we can get all of them and place it here. So now we got the prices, then we got the quantity, then we can calculate the selling price. So we got the cost, quantity. Now we need to compute the selling prices and add them. We need to get 1944. So if I need to do the selling price, hope you remember earlier what we did. We calculated the selling prices here also, right? Selling price of this is cost into quantity, cost into quantity. We created two variables and we added finally. Now I want to do instead of variables directly I want to do. You see, nothing to complicate, just for you to understand. So cost into quantity, cost into quantity. Again think here, as per the PEMDAS, we see multiplication and addition both are at the same level. So which one will happen first? Means based upon PEMDAS. As per PEMDAS, is multiplication coming first or addition coming?
Multiplication.
Exactly. So that's why these two multiplication happens first. These two multiplication happens another thing. And then the result will be added. So whether I place braces or not, don't you think it's following the same rule? Fine. So now, okay. So I need to execute the other program. Python e so and so. Did you see that you will get the result? Which is like that. You got the same result, right? 1194. Now we need to calculate the discount. So what is the discount we have? Say I want to make it like a constant because it's a best practice. So discount is equal to 2%, right? And similarly GST is equal to 12.5%. So whatever I have, I wrote it. Whether it is positive or negative, that we need to see down. So I wrote like constants here. If someone is coming to a program, if there are any assumptions, they will see. If they want to change it, they will change there. So based upon this, what we do, we computed the selling price also. Now next point is like we need to calculate the discount, right? We need to calculate this discount amount and we need to subtract. So calculate the discount amount of the selling price and to create the payable amount. So how do you calculate? Again the same old formula. So for calculating the discount and subtracting this value. So for calculating the discount, the standard formula is what are the discount you have. So that discount, selling price into discount by 100, you calculate it. So what are the value you got that we need to subtract. That's how like you get payable amount. After getting the payable amount, what we need to do? We need to calculate the GST and we need to add that amount, right? We need to calculate the GST and add to it. If I calculate the GST and add, it should be like this thing. So again, percentage calculation is same everywhere. So how we do is up to us. So if you see now, on top of it, I calculate the GST, which is a percentage, which I will add, and I get the final value. And observe, it's very interesting here to see here. Okay, I will tell you this shortly. Okay, you see now what will happen? You get the final answer. So perfect, right? You got whatever you want. But what if you ask the user to pay this much amount? User is fine to pay, say like say in rupees. So 2143. User is ready to pay. But what if you are asking this one? Don't you feel that it would be difficult, right? Until unless you are paying on a credit card or something. So for our user convenience, mostly wherever you go, they will round off to digits, right? Two digits. So if you want to round off any floating point value, so we need to use a built-in function called as round. Round is a built-in function. This is the next built-in function in the 64 built-in functions. So if you use it, we can round off to two digits. So if you round off, now we see the same answer, it will become 26. Plus or minus, right? So sometimes people want to round off to the nearer digit itself. They don't even want that remaining. So all those things you can do. So don't you think these are all real practical issues that we face on a daily basis? Now, good that you learned these two programs. You go to the nearest store, tell them that you will automate the solution and give this problem and a solution and make money. So jokes apart. So going apart, next into the EEF. Next one is on the grocery store. So before even going to the grocery store, do we have any other doubts? Or I can go ahead. Okay, then
No
let
doubt.
me try. So this time I go with the grocery store. The uniqueness of this program is that here costs were decided, but quantity was not given. When you go to a grocery store, will you fix on like what he gives, or you will do everything on your own? You just check the prices and you buy you how much you want, right? So here also the first step is, right, get what are the costs are there into a variable. So we get the cost into a variable. So fine, we can get it. Now, how about the quantity? So you don't have a quantity. Now, then what is the solution? We need to get the quantity in some variable. So in runtime. So means user didn't in the program we didn't hard code. So we should get somewhere in the. So if you want to get something from runtime, there is another built-in function called as input. There is a story called as raw input in Python 2, which is called as the input in Python 3. So whenever you are seeing any documentation, if you found raw input, think that that is a Python 2. So input is there in Python 2. There are raw input and input. That's some story. So I don't want to tell that. But in Python 3, there is only input. But the beauty is that it will take whatever you give as a strings only. So how it affects us, let's see that. So same like what we have given, you can say like, whatever you want. Say quantity of items, right? You want to get the quantities. Say I write quantity of rice I want. So I can use a built-in function called as input to get it. So whatever the user gives, I just try to print it. Say I'm just trying to get this much. So clear screen and Python. What is the current program? F grocery store. Did you see that it is not asking, not giving the output? Means it is waiting, but I don't know that it is waiting. Because in input statement, in the input is another function, you can pass a string, like whatever you write there, that will come in the output. Did you see? So instead of getting some garbage, don't you think that it would be better if you write that please enter this information? I can write in a better way, right? Enter quantity of rice in kgs. Then you can see much better way. You see? Now it's easy for you to understand also. Say if I say 10, means user is asking for 10 kgs. But did you see that if you ask the type, it is saying it's a string? But I gave integer, so why it is taking string? Because that's a property of it. Assume that, so what will happen if it works like this? This is very interesting. In other languages, we cannot do like cross language, cross data types computations, right? Whereas in Python, it works like that. You see, let's assume that I got the quantity before even going to wheat. For only rice, if I want to do the selling price, then what I do? Cost of rice into quantity of rice, right? That's what we expect. If I execute the same thing again, say if I am telling that I want the quantity of rice as some 5 kgs I want. See what is the price? Selling price? Do you expect this much price? Let me try again. One more example. Python space F so and so. If I say 3 right now, whatever I give, it is telling like this. So no, don't matter like what you give. If I give true, if I give like none, you know, whatever garbage I give, it will take, and it is repeating the same thing those many number of times. Did you see? Something like repetition, right? Something like repeating the same thing. So if you can understand clearly, you will understand that it is because if I go for interactive mode, I can explain better. If I say 5, so that's what your expectation. First value is 5, next value is 5. You expect a 50. But what it is happening is, it is instead of whatever the 5 you gave, it is treating like a string. That is called a string repetition operation. In Python, we can multiply an integer and a string. So if you do that, it will happen like this. So then what is the solution, sir? Why they did like this? Because so they don't want, so as a security compliance, so nothing should be pre-processed before even you getting. After you getting hold of it, you can do any operation. So this is mainly to avoid the injection attacks. So then what will happen? The solution means no matter what data type you pass, it will take like a string only. If you want to convert like an integer, hope you remember, you have a built-in function called as int, right? I can pass that int built-in function and we can work on it. This time, if I execute, you will notice that again the quantity. So cost is 10. If I give the 5, now this time it will take it as integer and becomes 5 into 10, which is 50. Is it clear?
Uday, can you repeat one more time this one?
Yes, please. So input is a function which we use for getting a value in runtime. So if you want to take any value in runtime when the program is running, so that's for input is used. But unfortunately, so input takes everything as a string only. So we cannot use a string, right? But here in this case, quantity means what? We want like an integer. If you want like an integer, convert to integer and use it. That is the only solution.
Okay, got it.
And also why they did like this? No matter what data type you give, they will be give like that only. If you see, I told you earlier also, whatever the data type you give, they will do like that. So if I say comment it and I do, so if I say true, boolean also it will take like a string. If I take like none, also it like a string. If I give like some garbage also it's like a string. If I give some numbers also it take like a string. And at the same time, nothing can be converted to a integer, right?
Yes.
So these all things can't be converted. If you give a number, fine. You cannot convert even a floating point as into an integer. If you want float, you should write float only. So if you give any garbage, it won't convert simply. So
Okay.
that is like exception handling that you will learn in the next phase.
Okay.
Subsequent.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Next, after the selling price, in the same fashion, we can do the selling price of the others. So means like instead of writing these things in 2 lines, getting the quantity and then again doing it in 2 lines, we can also do in a one shot. Instead of in 2 lines, one shot means what? Int of, so input means the function result will go to the int and then come. So like that also